Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakunle Kasumu and it's great to be on the show again today. We've got an interesting lineup for you. To get started is a book launch. Now, when you read biographies and autobiographies, one thing they do for you is they give you ideas on how to live life. They give you tips for living. I thoroughly enjoy reading biographies and autobiographies, and I've read hundreds of them. I really do enjoy. Since when I was a teenager, I always enjoyed reading autobiographies and biographies. I remember the first one I read, maybe not the first, but one of the first ones I read that stuck on my mind back then was a biography of Sir Winston Churchill, the former British Prime Minister. I read that when I was a teenager, and it left me with a massive impression in my mind. Maybe because I like history, and I used to like World War history back then. But since then, I've read a lot of biographies and autobiographies by great Nigerians, and I will encourage you to do so. Now, this is a new one that has just been released, and I'm going to leave the reports that you're about to watch to tell you all you need to know about this book and this great personality. Enjoy this.
Friends, family, and well-wishers gather from various walks of life to hold a memorial in honor of Major General Henry Edmund Olufemi Adefope, 10 years after his departure. Born to Alice Adefope and Chief Adefope in Kaduna on the 15th of March 1926, Henry Edmund Olufemi Adefope developed under their guidance to become a fine young man and a successful professional in various fields. Over a remarkable lifetime, he developed a solid reputation as an exceptional soldier, doctor, diplomat, sports administrator, and the 8th Labour Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Adefope went on to rest in the bosom of the Lord on the 11th of March 2012. In commemoration of his life, a biography titled Major General Henry Edmund Olufemi Adefope, A Legacy of Honor, by Emeritus Professor Akinjide Oshutokun and Professor David Aworawo, both of the Department of History and Strategic Studies of the University of Lagos, has been written and published by the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. The 338-page book with 13 chapters was launched and introduced to members of the public as a tribute to the late public servant and for posterity.
Professor Jide Oshutokun and Professor David Aworawo set themselves a monumental task in embarking on a joint enterprise, namely to capture the essence of Major General Dr. Henry Edmund Olufemi Adefope, whose sojourn on planet Earth was circumscribed by a recurring decimal. He was an officer of the Nigerian Army and a gentleman to the core.
One of his grandchildren read an excerpt from the book.
His medical background reflected in his contribution to sports development, human resource development, and labor relations, as well as external affairs. Indeed, his appointment as Commissioner for Labor in 1975 was greatly influenced by the role he played in the resolution of the doctors' strike in 1974. Which became a source of embarrassment to the Gowon government. The Gowon government's reaction to the 1974 strike incensed the doctors, and an impasse developed which required drastic measures to resolve. At this point, the government realized that Femi Adefope would be of help, being a medical doctor and a military officer. There was a major public service review in 1974, popularly called the Udoji Awards, which had wide-ranging implications for determination of levels and steps of civil servants. Medical doctors across the country felt disadvantaged by the new provisions. This and a number of other issues made the medical doctors embark on a major industrial action. The Gowon government tried to persuade the doctors to return to work without making major concessions to them, but the doctors were resolute and refused to call off their industrial action. The government became frustrated and threatened to sack all the doctors and replace them with foreign medical practitioners. The doctors were also ordered to pack out of government quarters within 24 hours if they would not return to work. The doctors were gathered in a hall at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luth, Idi-Araba, and General Adefope was accompanied by Colonel Ochefu to address them. In the aftermath of the resolution of the crisis, a number of labor leaders expressed their preference for General Adefope as Commissioner for Labor. And General Gowon himself thought that he would be an asset as the head of the Labor Ministry. It was this that laid the foundation for the appointment of Major General Adefope as Commissioner for Labor in 1975.
And then the unveiling of the book.
So we unveil the book in honor of this legacy of honor, integrity, and selflessness. God bless you all.
Professor Jide Oshutoku, one of the two biographers, speaks on the conception of the book.
I believe I was the one who challenged General Adefope to write his memoirs. I inspired the writing of this Adefope book. I believe I got General Adefope to participate in a project on oral tradition, being domiciled at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. He was interviewed for posterity. Sir, please reflect on your past. And he did.
Despite wearing many hats in his lifetime, Major General Adefope never left a vacuum in his role as a father to his 7 children.
He was my mentor. He was my role model. And I learned all my virtues from him. Very humble person, forthright, very principled, diligent in all he did. And he was a great father and a great father figure to a lot of people. He was very generous.
Documenting the stories of men and women who made significant contributions in their lifetimes is important for every society because such examples become tools for inspiring future generations. This is what the book Major General Henry Edmond Olufemi Adefope, A Legacy of Honor, is set to become. The late gentleman certainly lived an exceptional life.
Nurtured us with books. During her birthdays, my mom wasn't someone that would say, oh, I have to do this party for you or get you a new dress. So what my mom did every single birthday when I was a child was, I remember some of these books, I wish I could show you some of them now. Every birthday she'd say, happy birthday on your 7th birthday, a new book. So she gave us books for each of our birthdays. And then, because my mom was a VP Academics in her school, but there was a time they were renovating a library in Awari Slam, Ele Ibadan. So they brought the whole library of my mom's school home. So my mom's bedroom became a sukkah for all the books, over 5,000 books in her school library. And I think that's where I began to discover my love for reading. So after my assignments every day, at the age of 8, I would go into my mom's room. My mom's room was very big, those olden days rooms and all that, very spacious. So I would sit and I read any kind of book we had in those days, Colon or Dikbe, Cyprian and Quincy, Chiki and the River. I read all those old titles, maybe I'll share them. So I read all of them, Nancy Drew series, Emmy Blyton, The Enchanted Woods. That was where I discovered, I believe, the love for reading came.
Now, there's a young African called Michael Omare. He's doing great things himself and his partners in his organization called Tsunachi. Now, Michael's message is simple. African stories need to be told by Africans. What a mission Michael is on. We spoke to him very recently, and he shared his thoughts, his ideas, and the new book that his organization has just released in partnership with our friends, Kadan Kids. Before we dig into the conversation with Michael, let's get to meet with him.
Michael Omare is a Kenyan, Tanzanian Pan-Africanist and analyst with a background in communication. As part of his efforts to ensure Africans tell their own stories, Omare founded Tsunachi in 2016. Tsunachi is one of Africa's largest Pan-African media platforms. In partnership with Kadan Kids, Tsunachi is set to produce a series of children's books to share African stories and showcase African characters and values to people around the world. The first of the series of books is Maua and the Garden of Plenty.
Michael, it's great to have you on Channels Book Club all the way from Kenya. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Great, Michael. Great. How is everybody over there in Kenya? Great country.
Yes, everybody's doing good. There's a bit of a heat wave where temperatures are reaching 32 degrees, 31, but people are managing well.
Wow, I can imagine. That's pretty hot. Well done. Great to have you here. Michael, there's a lot to talk about. We don't have so much time, but I'm excited by the work you are doing over there in Kenya, but not just in Kenya. Kenya is your base, I believe, but what you're doing, it cuts across Africa. Your passion to see African stories told by Africans. What's the story behind that?
Oh, yes. So me as a person, I was tired of seeing our news, our stories being told from a perspective of Western media, Western perspective. So instead of complaining with my friends, I just decided to actually do something to change it. So we started Tsunachi, which is a Pan-African content creation studio, where we create African stories, African news, African programming, and we tell African stories based on our own perspective, based on our own experience. So with that, a few years after that, we have more than 1 million subscribers online, and we have almost 250 million views all over social media, just people watching our original African content.
You've created a platform for African content. That's what Tsunachi is all about, right?
Yes. Tsunachi actually means we are watching in Swahili. So yeah, we are telling the world Africans are watching.
If I had content, African content, African stories to tell, what do I do with Tsunachi? I send my content over to you, right?
Yeah, we have a program called Friends of Tsunachi, where for free we promote any African creator as long as they are making content about Africa, and that's our main goal. We want to spread African content first to educate Africans in the continent, then the diaspora, then also educate the world. So we are doing this through digital, making videos, audios, and now writing books, which we've started.
Which brings us here on Channels Book Club. The book.
Yes.
Now, you've partnered with Kadan Kids. Kadan Kids are friends of ours on this show. We've had them on this show a few times. Always lovely to host them. And the series of books that Kadan Kids has created for African audiences and even non-African audiences, just to get the African story all over the world is amazing. So you are in a partnership with Kadan Kids now, and you have you published a new book. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so as you said, Kadan Kids is an award-winning African publishing company, and with them we've partnered on a 6-book series where we'll tell original African stories written by Africans. So our first book is called Maua and the Garden of Plenty.
Maua and the Garden of Plenty.
Yes, which is about big ideas. So we are encouraging young children to think big, to try solve our own problems and create that critical thinking from a younger age. So, and our goal is to change the narrative when it comes to what our African children see. An African child shouldn't just have the options of reading Western storybooks, listening to Western fairy tales, because Africans don't write our books. So we've decided to write this book and start a culture of African children reading books about people, about them, and about people who look like them.
Great. So Maua, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and the Garden of Plenty. Tell us a bit about this book. What's the story? A young, beautiful girl with lovely hair teaching the values of self-determination and self-confidence and gratitude. Tell us a bit about this story.
So first of all, Maua in Swahili means flower, right? So this is our main character is called Maua, and she lives in a village called Azania, right? Which, as you know, Azania goes back to our African tradition. It was the original name of Africa. So she lives in Azania, then a calamity befalls Azania, and it's up to this little girl that the community overlooks. The community does not listen to her small voice. It's up to this little girl to rise and solve a problem even grown-ups cannot solve. So we want to teach children to be courageous. If they've got an idea, to speak it out, and don't be afraid, regardless of how short you are, how you look, your skin color, your language. You have an idea and you're valid, and everybody needs to hear it if it's a good idea.
Fantastic, lovely. I mean, these are the things that our kids need to be hearing, and it's very powerful that these values are now being inculcated into African, truly African stories. We used to get all these things from foreign books, but now they're in African books. Fantastic. Will Nigerian children have access to this book? We want our kids in Nigeria to have access to this book.
Yes. So Kadan Kids has distributors in Nigeria, and these books plus their other books, which they've got a huge series, are available in Nigerian bookstores, select Nigerian bookstores, and or you can go to kadankids.com to get your copy. And if you're in the diaspora, if you're an African in the diaspora, if you're a Kenyan in the diaspora, if you're Nigerian in the diaspora, you can always buy it online. As I said, kadankids.com. Yeah, the goal of Kadan Kids is to distribute these books to the people who actually are supposed to be reading them. So we've got partners in Kenya, we've got partners in Nigeria, we've got partners in Ghana, we've got partners in Tanzania and South Africa who will help us to distribute this book to as many Africans as possible.
Okay, Michael, another thing that interests me about this book is I like the partnerships that have brought about this book. There's Tsunachi there is Kadan Kids there. The illustrator is a Nigerian, I understand.
Yes.
Yes, and the author is Kenyan, right? Or the author is co-founder of Tsunachi, is that correct?
Yes. So our author is called Linda Omare. She's our editor. She's the one who's responsible for writing these amazing stories that we tell, creating this content that we create on Tsunachi. And she wrote this book as an inspiration to her growing up, where she didn't have this option of having African authors, African books in a library, right? Where everything was just filled with British books, American books. So growing up, she said she must change it. And through Tsunachi and Kadan Kids, her dream has become a reality. So Kadan Kids have really helped us create this book, because the publishing world, as you know, is a very select industry, and through experience and expertise is what they've really helped us with, and that we've got a very beautiful book, nicely printed, good quality, and it can compete with any Western book out there.
Okay, as we round up, Michael, I'm curious, how do Kenyans see Nigerian writers and Nigerian books? I'm curious to know what is the perception over there?
So the perception when it comes to Kenyans readers and Kenyan authors, when it comes to like the Nigerian literary world, it's more with awe. Because us growing up, the set books we used in primary were Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, things like Man of the People, things like Aminata, which all came from African, Nigerian authors. Like Kenyans have always seen Nigerians as the elders when it comes to writing. They've achieved more, they've won more international awards like the Nobel Peace Prize, and they've won so many awards. And like Kenyans want to reach where Nigerian authors have reached. So that's how we look at Nigerian authors, with awe, and we wish one day we could reach there.
Fantastic. And I mean, mutual respect. Nigerians, in the writing community in Nigeria, there's a lot of respect for great Kenyan writers. So keep it up over there. Finally, what is coming up after Maua and the Garden of Plenty? I have a feeling that each time I pronounce that name, you chuckle inside you.
No, you're actually saying it right. It's Maua. You know,
good.
With like African languages, you pronounce every word. It's Maua. You know, we don't have silence and all those other complicated things in other languages.
Okay.
So for Maua, we had our official launch for the book just 2 weeks ago in Nairobi, Kenya. But we are also having a book festival. It's called the Moto Book Festival. It will be held on World Books Day. And it will be a collection of African authors from Nigeria, from Ghana, who will come together in Nairobi, and we will all celebrate this beautiful culture of like African writing. So this is, as I said, this is the first book of a series of 6, and our latest one is almost coming soon, and I hope you'll have me on again to talk about our latest book, and it will be very unique. Like it will be a story that you wouldn't think can come out of Africa. So stay tuned for that.
We'll look forward to that. We'll be happy to talk about that later on. Thank you very much, Michael, for joining us on Channels Book Club. Well done. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, same here. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Great things Michael is doing, and there's so many young people across Africa doing such great things these days. And maybe one day Africa will realize its potential because of all the efforts of all these young people across countries in Africa. Well done, Michael and your team. This is where we have to draw curtains on today's episode. As always, we'll be delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.